Good morning, everyone. I'm Tricia Girodette, and I'm your facilitator for this morning. I welcome you all in person, and there's some on Zoom as well. If you're able to stand and wave at everyone out there in Zoom land, this is time to do so. They've said they appreciate seeing everybody. Thank you. And if you have a cell phone with you, make sure it is turned off, please. Thank you. All right, this is our first Sunday, and so we have birthday cake for celebration. If you have a December birthday, would you raise your hand? Carol, I see, whoa, bunch. All right, I think we have enough, so be ready for birthday cake. All right, today's service, Lamenting War and Yearning for Peace, has pieces from the Baja4 ministers and our Baja4 intern, Jamili Omar. While the ministers are meant to be in their congregations and repeat their parts live, Reverend Tina is not here with us today as she had to record her part for the other churches anyway and is still coughing a lot. She is COVID negative now, but didn't think you'd appreciate her coughing on you. So, if you wish to have a particular announcement, better hurry, because I'm getting to it soon, or joy or sorrow, which come later. If you want them read during the service, please remember to fill out a form that's on the back table, the back of this room, and someone will bring it up to me if you have a last minute something. If you are new here, please ask any of us how to access our website, find out how to get involved in any of our activities. If you would like to receive our newsletter, please ask Deborah Smith, who I haven't seen, or Becky Tanner, who is at the piano, to put your name on our email list. Before our service begins, I've been given a few announcements for today. Tina's office hours will be normal, day and time, this Tuesday, the 5th, from 12:30 to 3:30. Please call or text, though, to set up a time beforehand, as she has several meetings already scheduled during that time. And from Diane Davis, if you're interested in signing holiday cards this week, Joyce Carpenter will be here on Tuesday. Diane was going to be with her, but forgot she had a doctor's appointment. If you can come another day, let Diane know to then plan that day. Right, from Sally Carpenter, I think I saw here. Yep, there she is. She says last Sunday she tested positive for COVID, but 4 daily tests later had nothing but negative. Hey, that's actually probably a joy. Yeah. All right, a reminder about the birthday cards to be signed, and then the extra signing mentioned by Diane. And then this coming Friday is the ladies' lunch at 11 a.m. at Country House. All right. Do you remember Equal Exchange chocolate bars? Some people do. I know who you are. I've gotten a selection that has limited numbers of any given flavor, but for those who might be new to it, Equal Exchange is a co-op that we use to purchase our tea and coffee. And they support farmers on their land with fair trade prices. So they don't have to become migrants. And so it helps them stay where they want to be. So over the holidays, they offer a selection, and there's some interesting choices. And I'll have them out in the community room if you're interested. All right. $5 a bar. All right. The big one. This last Wednesday, the door to the church was found propped open at 11 o'clock in the morning. There was no one in the building. We don't know if the door was left open all night, if someone came in the morning, left it propped open. This is not good, as you can imagine. From Becky, almost worse than having everything stolen is the potential of being vandalized. On Thursday morning, when Dave Weigel came in, the kitchen lights and social room, I guess that's community room, lights were found left on overnight. When I came in Friday, lights were on and the heating was still on. Our electricity bill this month is going to be horrendous. And so we may need to change the combination lock again. We're not sure who is doing this. So we have a problem at the moment. And one way to at least ameliorate it would be to ask to change the combination lock. So please, everyone, when you are in the building, when you exit, make sure lights are out and heating system is turned off to help save on electricity and our contribution to fossil fuels. So, thank you. All right, now I believe we are ready to hear a welcome from our Baja4 intern, Jamili Omar.
Good morning, friends. Do you remember just about 3 years ago when the first news of the coronavirus was making its way to us? In that moment here in southern Arizona, we were feeling relief that the summer heat had broken, ready to welcome the busy winter season and preparing for the holidays before us. And we were getting reports of something unknown, something that was dangerous and taking lives. Then, over the next 2-3 months, we heard more reports, more danger, more deaths, here in the US and finally here in Tucson. And then we were all told to stay home for, well, could we have guessed how long that was? At first, each of our 4 congregations tried to create their own online services, and we rapidly found that our resources, our time, talent, and treasure was stretched thin. But in working together, we found that not only did our impact reach further than we could have imagined, we created something new, something innovative, something valuable. We created community, online and across the distance, a community created around our shared values to offer support, wisdom, company strength, and even a little bit of laughter to each other. In our first ever online Baja4 worship, back in March 22nd of 2020, Reverend Bethany welcomed us with these words. She said, "Though our congregation's cultures and histories may differ, we are all Unitarian Universalists. This is our big tent. And though our grounds and buildings may differ, we all, well, most of us, we came to find out, live in and around the Sonoran Desert, diverse and resilient landscape. We are offering this collective worship experience in this time to remind ourselves of the possibilities that are emerging from this moment. The things that become possible when we move towards one another, even though we cannot physically reach each other. The possibilities to tap into our own wells of resilience are as just so much swirls around us. So come to this well of resilience and possibility. Come to this well of community and connection. Come to this well of hope and possibility and promise in this time of uncertainty and anxiety. Come to this well. It has always been here for you, and it will always be here for you. So what we've learned 3 years later is that no matter what comes for us, our well is deep. Together we can handle difficult and dangerous things. Look at the beauty, the joy, the sorrows, the big life moments, and the small ones we've shared together. Look at us. We are still here. Our congregation's growing and changing. Look at who we are. We who know in very real ways that we are in fact stronger together. Today, the physical realities of life are different for many of us than they were 3 years ago. Many of us gather again in our sanctuaries, sing together, work for justice together. And then the news comes again reminding us that there is suffering and pain around the world, pain that impacts us, pain that has the potential to drive us apart. And when these realities come crashing in, these are the moments that remind us why we came together as the Baja4 in the first place, why we continue to come together, because we know we are stronger together. Today, we are grateful to be together, apart. Come, let us worship together.
Reverend Matthew Funk Prairie is now serving as minister of Mountain Vista UU congregation in Northwest Tucson, kind of far up there. We are stronger together. A hope sparked through relationships among the ministers of the Baja4 congregations that began as the Pulpit Palooza, Pulpit Exchange. We are stronger together. A flame alight during the pandemic when Borderlands, Sky Island, Mountain Vista, and the UU Church of Tucson joined in shared worship and programming. We are stronger together. A fire of commitment catching among our churches, within our congregations, and carried in our hearts in times of crisis and catastrophe. We are stronger together. A flaming chalice beckoning us onward, guiding us ever forward to always live out our Unitarian Universalist aspirations here in Southern Arizona. Are there any additional joys or sorrows in the back? I have only one. This is from Robbie Rouse. She says her great-nephew is having open heart surgery this coming Wednesday. On Saturday, this coming Saturday, he'll be 2. Yes, I put in extra. There are joys and sorrows that aren't spoken. We have a joy from Tina. Yesterday, she got to participate in a pastoral care meetup with all the churches of Baja4, organized by our intern, Jamili. In the true spirit of the Baja4, we really did learn from each other and plan to meet quarterly. Jamili even proposed that if we imagine ourselves as a team, pastoral care volunteers of the Tucson churches might visit church members from the 2 further churches who find themselves in the hospital in Tucson. We've had some instances of that this year. Joel Yelland, whom you will hear sing in a few minutes, attended the meeting as a member of the Mountain Vista Pastoral Care Committee, just in case you wondered if members of other churches wear a lot of hats too. So for all the joys or sorrows that were not spoken, I added extra stones, and I'm going to dump in the rest of them because we are remembering war, and we know there have been a lot of victims of the recent and ongoing war in the Middle East. All right, I believe we are now to have a reflection titled Lamentation from Reverend Bethany Russell Lowe of SIUU Church, Tucson.
We start today with lamentation. We start here because I know that we are swimming in grief over what has happened, what is happening in Palestine and Israel. Today, we lament together in community to remind ourselves that the griefs we carry are not ours to carry alone. Our lamentation today will have two parts: protest and petition. By protest, I mean naming, voicing our deepest griefs. And petition, I mean sharing our biggest dreams of peace. We grieve violence in all its forms: war, terrorism, imprisonment, occupation, denial of humanitarian aid, genocide, murder, and more. We grieve violence in all its forms. We grieve the Hamas terrorist attack on Israel, and we grieve the bombardment of Gaza. We grieve the terrorism done by Hamas and other extremist groups in the name of Islam, and we grieve terrorism committed over decades by the Israeli government. We grieve that Jews and Palestinians have been pitted against one another in the Middle East, both rightly claiming indigeneity and rights to the Holy Lands. We grieve the ways that Western colonialistic mindsets have created the container for this moment in history and have made many of us complicit in war. We grieve the impacts of the Holocaust and centuries of persecution on Jews, and we affirm the need for a place where Jews are safe from persecution. We grieve the displacement of Palestinians from lands to which they are indigenous, and we affirm the need for a place where Palestinians are safe from persecution. We grieve the reality of anti-Semitism today. We grieve the reality of Islamophobia today. We grieve any framework which places one people as subordinate to another. We grieve any mindset which is used to promote violence against people, life. We grieve specifically the intentions that some have for genocide of both the Palestinian people and the Jewish people. Over 1,200 Jews died on October 7th, were murdered. And over 11,000 Palestinians have been murdered in Gaza between then and November 10th, when it became too difficult to track how many more deaths have occurred. Hundreds more have died in the West Bank and some in Jerusalem as well in that time. October 7th felt like the beginning of the next Holocaust for some Jewish people. And genocide is happening in Gaza right now. Both of these things are true. And we cannot look away. Not when genocide is happening. We must keep on our lips, in our minds, the phrase, not in our name. Not in our name for any people, anytime, anywhere. Breathe with me if you are holding any or all of these griefs. Breathe with me if I have given name to a grief that disturbs you. Breathe with me if I have given name to a grief that you cannot hold right now. And forgive me if I have not given voice to your particular grief. I offer now a few seconds of silence for us to hold together so that you, in your own words, out loud or in your heart, can give name to the grief you are holding. As our hearts break, let them not break to pieces. Let them be broken open to hold the multitudes and the complexities of our griefs. A heart broken to pieces quickly becomes rigid, understandably, to protect its own healing as it works to quickly find glue and put the pieces back together. But a heart broken open is strong enough and flexible enough to hold the multitudes of grief and just to hold it and honor it without needing to call any grief, one grief, more important than another. So let us break our hearts wide open to hold the multiple truths and the non-binary positions, to hold everything and anything that hurts so that we can imagine a complex answer to the complex troubles of our world, which are the complex troubles of our own hearts. Only with hearts broken open can we dream a dream of peace. Beyond ceasefire, beyond hostages, beyond the freeing of anyone unjustly imprisoned, beyond the pains and beyond the grief, and within the grief's true lies a dream of peace held by many across the world and many in Israel and Palestine. In order to dream of peace, though, we must know the depth of the violence that has happened and is real. We must take account of the fullness of the violence and pay attention to the multitude and not resist any temptation to organize it by magnitude. If we are to dream of peace, we must remember the pain that reaches back dozens, if not hundreds of generations for the people who have indigeneity to the lands we now call Palestine and Israel. If we are to dream of peace, we cannot start anywhere out there. We have to start here in our own hearts and here in our own churches and here in our own communities and build peace from the inside out. Is there peace in your body? Is there peace in your home? Is there peace in your family? Is there peace in your neighborhood and your community and your congregation? In a time when it feels like we can't do anything, we can do this. Build peace from the inside out.
We'll now hear Joel Yelland singing from the Messiah Oratorio.
furiously rage together. Why do the people imagine a vain thing? Why do the nations rage so furiously together? Why do the people imagine a vain thing? Imagine a vain thing. Why do the nations so furiously rage together? And why do the people, and why do the people imagine a vain thing? Why do the nations rage so furiously together, so furiously together? And why do the people imagine a vain thing? Imagine a vain thing. And why do the people imagine a vain thing? The kings of the earth rise up, and the rulers take counsel together. Take counsel together against the Lord and against his anointed, against the Lord and his anointed.
Beautiful piano playing, too. Yeah, some of us had the pleasure of hearing Chris Tackett play for us a few times. He's the pianist. In addition to the chalice lighting that I read earlier, Reverend Matthew has written a poem reflection for today.
Trauma. The context of being alive at this moment among the billions on our planet is trauma. And trauma is the ongoing conflict between Palestine and Israel, which is reopening deep generational and global wounds. It's infecting our communities, impacting our families. It's damaging our daily lives and severing our souls. Trauma surrounds us and threatens us. As Dr. Gabor Mate, family practice physician, believes, trauma is the invisible force that shapes our lives, shapes the way we live, the way we love, and the way we make sense of the world. It is the root of our deepest wounds. And so within trauma of this context, who are we? Now, I wouldn't dare to tell a Unitarian Universalist who they are in any context. And yet, here, sensing the root of our wounding, I am waking up to my own humanity and to yours as well. I am hurt and I'm healing. I am fractured into pieces. I am facets of a great whole. I am gratefully addicted and distracted. I am purposefully feeling the pain and the suffering. I am hungry for deeper meanings. I am a consumer of the superficial. I am happily nestled in my comfort zone, and I am joyfully outgrowing all that binds me. I am falsely fearful, and I am truthfully terrified. I am absolutely 100% without a doubt certain, and I'm wrong. I am pro-Palestinian. Am I anti-Semitic? I am pro-Israeli. Am I Islamophobic? I am misheard, misunderstood, and misquoted. I am still showing up and present. I am ancient ancestors speaking. I am future kin pleading. I am slow, subtle intention. And I am reactive, willful ignorance. I am political, and I am mystical. I am a warrior of nonviolence. I'm a pacifist slugging it out to my final breath. I am repeatedly stuck on the brink of despair, and I am never before futures emerging. I am words and prayers transforming hearts and minds. I am actions impacting bodies and souls. I am arrogant enough to believe I can make a change. And I'm humble enough to know that I can't do it without you. Do I contradict myself? Very well then, I contradict myself. I am large. I contain multitudes. These last lines from the wisdom of Walt Whitman and his poem Song of Myself, they don't dare to capture or contain a single life. Instead, he calls us to be human in spite of a repeating cycle of trauma. Because through our news feeds and on the streets, ongoing trauma rushes at us 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, a cycle of war and ceasefire, of artificial intelligence and natural creativity, of global climate disruption and the everyday, unending disruptions of our civilized lives, repeating and returning to push us down, spin us around, and turn us away from our humanity. And all it requires is that we deny the humanity of others. We can break the cycle, but not alone. We can liberate each other by sharing our individual agency and by being many together, more human, more whole. We are large. We contain contradictions. We are multitudes. And this is what it is to be human, living among humans through trauma. Humans that dream beyond a context of warring or losing, humans that imagine outside the binary traps of be this or be that. Humans that plan beyond the narrow opposition of one way or another into a multitude of futures, which will inevitably contradict one another, and yet they will still flow forward. Just imagine, if you will, being bold and bravely human, celebrating collective contradictions and making multitudes into tomorrows. Because we can end suffering. We can ease pain and heal hurts with purpose and meaning arising from all that we are by becoming many and more and most human. And so may we make it so. May we choose to take everything that we've been given and today make together a world that we all deserve to live in.
My joy's like spring so warm, it makes flowers bloom all over the earth. My pain's like a river of tears, so vast it fills the four oceans. Please call me by my true names so I can hear all my cries and laughter at once, so I can hear that my joy and pain are one. Please call me by my true names so that I can wake up and the door of my heart could be left open. My joy's like spring so warm, it makes flowers bloom all over the earth. My pain's like a river of tears, so vast it fills the four oceans. Please call me by my true names so I can hear all my cries and laughter at once, so I can hear that my joy and pain are one. Please call me by my true names so that I can wake up and the door of my heart could be left open.
Beautiful. And now maybe we have Tina.
We gather here today as the Baja4 Beyond War, trusting that we can face these heartbreaking times with more strength, compassion, wisdom, depth, perception, if we do it together. And just as we need multiple churches and many voices, so we need those multitudes within each of us and all the humans in this world in order to find the resources to grieve and heal and imagine. But one of the things we do when we go to war is strip other humans of many of their layers. We see them as subhuman, as monstrous. It's easier to attack them that way. As Reverend Matthew says, we can ease pain, heal hurts, by becoming many more and most human. I call us all today to rehumanize the people in our lives and in our world, to learn how to see them more clearly and with more love. I offer you today Valerie Kaur's Revolutionary Love Compass as one way to rehumanize others. But if you have another tool, go for it. Valerie Kaur's Compass of Revolutionary Love has this sun of joy shining down on all its parts. Much as love, we hope, is at the center of what we do as Unitarian Universalists. And then she has this compass that helps you look at 3 different kinds of people in new and more loving ways. First, you shift that compass to look at others. And in each case, there's inner work that we have to do that leads to interpersonal tasks that we can do together that can lead to societal activities to make lasting change. So when we look at the other, our first inner work is to wonder. It is to wonder about the other. When we feel awe and wonder about someone else, it's harder to attack them, isn't it? And Core suggests that as we wonder about people, we start to be able to feel their pain. And that moves us into the interpersonal work to grieve together. For Core, grieving is not a quick fix. It's a deep holding and sitting in the pain together. But that can lead to wisdom and bonding and a societal fight. We can see more clearly what it is we need to do and whose is what to do if we've gone through those stages. If we shift the compass again, we see this other category called other, ourselves. And Core adds that in. She thinks it's really important because most social justice movements forget about renewing the self, and that feminists and African American women have emphasized that, have emphasized the need to take care of themselves and not spend all for the sake of the revolution. So where do we go first? What work do we have to do when renewing ourselves? We breathe. Most of all, though, I want to look at that ring, outer ring of opponents, not enemies. For Core, enemy is too fixed a designation. People move in and out of being our opponents. Dear family members and friends can be there when we're at odds for a while. How do we learn to love and work with and rehumanize our opponents? That, I think, is our deepest challenge. So look, what is the inner work we must do first? It is to rage. As Core points out, she used to think that you had to sublimate, sanitize, suppress anger in order to do good work with other humans. But she's realized you don't have to bypass it, ignore it, or allow rage to explode dangerously everywhere. Instead, you sit with it and you learn from it. It has wisdom. Much as the pain of touching a hot stove alerts you to danger, so rage can show what's at odds and where you need to grow. It can also fuel us to move forward into other work. After we've worked through the rage, we need to listen. And for Core, listening is not, it's a deeper practice than often done, and it's more reciprocal. Our goal is not to find empathy for a person and stay there. It is to come back and risk changing ourselves and see what is our role in the structures that have caused wounding and pain. What do we need to do differently? As we listen, we can start to understand. This is a very difficult place to be. Core once found herself in a bar and she heard white men using highly derogatory language about people from India and Pakistan and probably North Africa. And that is the ethnic group she's part of. She has lived in California on one side of her family for multiple generations, but she is of Sikh origin, which comes from the Punjab. And so she walked up to these men, trying to show them her humanity, perhaps to de-escalate a hate crime or violence against others. And she asked them why they use this derogatory language about her kind of people. And she says, the point of this is not to care about these people necessarily it is to understand. You start to see their wound, how structures in society have created it, and how you can make a change in those structures so those wounds can be healed, so that the violent cycles can be stemmed. But she says it's not enough just to try to resist bad structures. You have to reimagine better ones. A few weeks ago, I went to the border with a group of UU ministers, and Ren Manning, who's co-executive director of Border Links, has a beautiful t-shirt they wear. On one side, there is a dark gray wall landscape. On the other side of the shirt is an open field with flowers and animals moving freely and people interacting, imagining a world without the wall. And that is what we have to do. So we start moving through our rage, listening, trying to understand, trying to reimagine a different world. I don't know how you plan to rehumanize the people around you. To take a breath, to do the work of love, which is to restore wonder to other humans, to see the multitudes that live within them, to marvel at their richness. This is the work we must do. It is our only hope. It is a discipline, but it is worth it. Please join me.
Friends, as we close out today, I have a story for us. This is a once upon a time story, so it is both true and not true, and a little bit more than true. You can decide which parts are which. Once upon a time, there was a person who lived in a world very much like ours. There was pain and joy, heartache and heartsong, celebrations and mournings, grudges and forgivenesses, war and times of not war. Confused and struggling with these contradictory experiences, our seeker had a lot of questions. So the seeker went in search of answers. First, the seeker approached a mystic and asked the first question on their heart. Mystic, our seeker says, given all the pain and joy, celebrations and mournings, war and times of not war in this world, does God exist? The mystic replied, allow me to go deep within for the answer. After meditating for quite some time, expanding their heart consciousness to embrace the totality of existence, the mystic answered, I do not know what you mean by the word God, but I do know that this world is more mysterious and more wonderful than I could ever imagine. I know that you and I are part of something so much larger than our own lives. Perhaps this is the something larger is what you seek. Not exactly satisfied, the seeker went in search again. This time they approached a scientist. Scientist, the seeker said, given all the pain and joy, celebrations and mournings, war and times of not war in this world, does God exist? The scientist replied, let me think. So they thought. They thought about the vastness of the universe, 156 billion light years, or something like 936 billion trillion miles in diameter, an almost immeasurable smallness of a quark. The scientists thought about how the energy of the Big Bang fuels their own beating heart. And then the scientist answered, I do not know what you mean by the word God, but I do know that this world is more mysterious and more wonderful than I could ever imagine. I know that you and I are part of something so much larger than our own lives. Perhaps this something larger is what you seek. The seeker still wasn't satisfied. So they asked themselves, self, intuition, inner compass, ancestors, they besieged. Given all the pain and joy, celebrations and mournings, war and times of not war in this world, does God exist? and they thought of what they know and what they do not know. They thought about how they know what they know and how they do know that they don't know what they don't know. They thought about their experience of the world and how it is but one tiny infinitesimal fraction of all experience. They thought about their dependence on forces larger than themselves. They thought about the interdependence of all existence. They experienced wonder and pondered mystery. And then they knew. They knew in their soul the truth of what the mystic and the scientist had said, that they are part of something so much larger than their own single life. And then, only then, did they wonder what they would call it. We might call a small piece of this wonderful, mysterious life the Baja4. And we know that we don't need to seek on our own. We have a community across time and space who will go with us, shoulder to shoulder, hand in hand, each of us with our own gifts and talents to bring on this journey, because we are stronger together.
Closing words and chalice extinguishing. If There Is to Be Peace by Lao Tse. Our closing words come from Lao Tse. If you want to follow along as I read them, you can find them as number 602 in the Gray Hymnal. If there is to be peace in the world, there must be peace in the nations. If there is to be peace in the nations, there must be peace in the cities. If there is to be peace in the cities, there must be peace between neighbors. If there is to be peace between neighbors, there must be peace in the home. If there is to be peace in the home, there must be peace in the heart. Becky will play our postlude, and then we'll have birthday cake.